Sipping with Sue time, TGIF, and happy Friday, you guys. If you're joining us for the first time, we are live on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you have not gone to my YouTube channel to subscribe, please do and hit the bell to get all of the latest content as soon as it is uploaded. I am here with the fabulous and talented Takeisha Jefferson. Cheers.
Cheers, cheers.
And she's got this, what did you call it again in your glass?
It is punch free, which is French
Free.
for fruit punch. I had to
Punch
make it
free.
sound good. I had to make
Of
it sound good.
course. Of course. Like we say Target. I'm going to Target.
Hello. Exactly.
I love it so much. So how are you today, Miss?
I am doing well. I am really excited to be here.
Yay.
And-
And we're excited to have you and just like looking over your work. So tell us a little bit about yourself so folks can get acquainted with you.
Okay, well, first, my name is Takeisha Jefferson, and I am a military vet, specifically Air Force. Hoorah! Strangely enough, I met my husband the last day of basic training.
No.
So, yes, last day of basic, I was actually heading off, going to take my test for, I had to take a typing test to qualify for my job. So he was in the hallway and had just taken the test and told me which direction to go. So 25 years later, in 2 months.
Oh my gosh.
Right.
Congrats.
Thank you. We have 4 young adults. I have to say that now because our youngest just turned 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I still have
adult
kids.
offspring, right? We say adult offspring. Yes.
Exactly. I'm like, you're still my child. Mind your business. But no, so youngest just turned 18. We're, doing pretty good. I'm really purposeful in making sure people are following their passions and their dreams and knowing that I don't want to say at any point, but you can reassess.
Definitely.
And say that, I've changed my mind. So I'm encouraging them to do the exact same that I'm doing.
Good. I love it. Awesome. We've got John from Norway here. Hi, John.
Well,
So we've got folks from all around the globe already. Fantastic.
awesome.
I know. And so I haven't heard your whole entire that story from you guys because again, Oshan and I were deployed back in, oh my gosh, I can't even remember. 2010?
Okay.
2009 going into 2010, right?
I'm familiar.
I'm
familiar with that one. So. I know that one. Yes.
Yeah. So we were deployed and that's when I first met your husband. So all of just one big, happy, fantastic Air Force family. So it's so much fun. I love it. So you are living now over in...
We're in Michigan. Yes, we're in Michigan.
How's the weather in Michigan? Is it like we're in triple digits here in Texas, though?
So I don't want to complain. Because I understand that you are in Texas. I do. And I have lived in Turkey, right? So I do understand what the heat feels like and the humidity across the world. But I do live by the largest bodies of fresh water, like the lakes, the Great Lakes. And I don't know what that does with the heat. I'm not sure how the sun and the water go.
Yes.
But it is it's only in like the high 80s, but it doesn't feel like that. It doesn't feel like I'm built for air conditioning. I'm so serious. Just real quick, like our electricity bill and I probably need to work on this, but for air conditioning is a car payment. And I've made sure that Oshan has stayed away from that bill our entire marriage because I believe, and I'm accustomed, like some people like nice things. I need air. I want air conditioning.
I need fresh air. I need cool air. And we're good. And my husband likes to freeze me out of the house right now and stuff. And so this room, which is my studio, I like to call it. I don't call it my office because that sounds like boring and work. So it's my studio, and it's 3 degrees cooler in this room than the entire upstairs because we just got one of those like nest things or whatever to figure that out. And I was like, I'm freezing in here. Szu-Moy, you lie. And I'm like, no, I like literally I can't feel my fingers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
I'd probably love it.
Yeah, you would love it, but it's also like, I mean, I thought out earlier today outside. I went outside to be like, okay, I can feel my fingers and toes. Okay, I can go back
It's
upstairs
too
again.
cold. It's too cold. It's too cold. Yes.
Only
Yes,
for
yes,
me,
yes.
only for me.
Understood. Understood.
Oh my goodness. So you are a fine art photographer.
I am.
And yes, and I think when we're looking at why there's passion, and you've had passion, ignited, and certain people have that passion, and then they also have that talent. We also look no further than our families, and I think a lot of your work is reflective of that. So please tell us about your passion and how you're capturing your family and ancestry through the lens of fine art photography.
Awesome. I want to touch on two things because when you talk about the passion, I tell
Hmm.
people a lot that my talent finally met my passion because earlier in my career I had the passion and my talent wasn't quite there, but
Hmm.
my love was solid for this
Okay.
work. And I'm very thankful and grateful that the people that were around me did not like push it out because the quality of work that I was producing wasn't where my passion was, right? So it
Hmm.
took time for me to get to where I am now, and I still feel like I have a lot of more room, for growth. But
Yeah.
what happened was, I'd love, having cameras as a kid. When I was in the military, I did public relations, so I did get access to a camera. And so one time, one of my supervisors told me I needed to practice. He was not liking some of the work that I was doing, and he told me to take the camera home. And I was scared because one of the cameras he gave me was like $20,000. It was this digital satellite camera. I'm like, dude, this is more than my car. So,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah, yeah,
know,
yeah.
and so there were some other cameras in the office that he allowed me to take home and practice. Just, I could photograph my friends, whatever. And I started to get this wild eye just for, photographing people,
Okay.
faces, and I found myself to be like a rule breaker, right? So my composition isn't what, is standard, right? I'm
Mhm.
cutting off foreheads, I'm cutting off faces. And as years went by, I got out of the military. I'm still, doing photography, highly passionate, talent reaching it. And I was in some spaces where some people were very vocal about, well, where did you go to school? I'm like, well, I haven't gone to school for this. I took at that time, one photography course in the military, basic
Mhm,
photography, but I
mhm,
didn't have any formal training. And I feel like I was snobbed in a lot of places because I didn't have the formal training and I didn't have paperwork to prove, the status. And so I got angrier kind of a little bit over the years about that. So I went back to
mhm,
school in my mid 30s. So I'm in college, like, let me study, photography, see, what they're talking about. At this point, I already have my own business. I'm
mhm,
working, and I end up taking art history 1 and 2.
mhm,
And I'm starting to see this work. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm in love with the
mhm,
architecture. I'm in love with the work that I'm seeing, the paintings.
mhm,
But when I'm seeing these pieces, these daguerreotypes, these cenotypes, these tintype photographs, these black and white treasures,
mhm,
I'm really not seeing a lot of people who look like me.
mhm,
And when I do see them, they're enslaved.
mhm,
One of the people that I wasn't seeing was Frederick Douglass, who is during that time one of the most, what was the most photographed person of color. But even
mhm,
that was intentional, and it was
mhm,
about narrative and representation. And he wrote a whole piece on that and why he always, if you look at his pictures, you're going to notice he kind of looks the same, right?
mhm,
And that's because he wanted people, if they only met one person of color, if they only had this interaction, or they saw that this is what they would see, and
mhm,
it was him. And so I was like, well, how can I champion this? My husband has this quote where he talks about, position yourself to fix the things you complain about, right? So
mhm.
not just complaining, trying to be an active participant in, what can I do, whether it's giving money, volunteering, whatever. And so I was like, I need to start taking some pictures. So, and before that, I was doing color work, right? And so I'm like,
Mhm,
how do I get in there? So I had an alternative photography class where I did learn some of the actual processes, right? But then, I'm thinking about the environment. I'm
mhm,
thinking about, just my health. I don't want to gloss over it, but I live with, chronic pain. I have endometriosis. So just
mhm,
having, good days and bad days. I'm like,
mhm,
is there a way that I can reproduce this look digitally where I'm still celebrating the art and paying tribute to it in a way that it doesn't look like I'm just playing dress up, right?
yep.
And so I started, and Sally Mann was one of the people I learned about initially in class. And she's not doing 100% all of that type of work, but she was photographing her children and she had
Mhm.
been documenting them. And, some people have, issues on, things and how she did it. But I found that she wasn't called a mom tog or a mom photographer. She was a
Mhm.
photographer, an
Mhm.
amazing one, that has done things, all around the world. And I was like, well, how can I be that? Not just be labeled a mom tog because I'm photographing my children,
Mhm.
right? And how can I honor, my ancestors and people that I never got the opportunity to meet through photography. And so I got to a place where I found a way to merge faces together and fuse them, where maybe I take my grandmother and a cousin, or my grandmother and my daughter, and I put them together and this new face kind of forms.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because I don't know if you have a little cousin, let's say like that's 7 or 5 years old, and you look at that cousin and it reminds you of an elder in your family. You're like, that looks just like this person when they were that young, like a carbon copy. And I'm sure that these images that are being created look like someone,
Mhm.
right? Whether we're related to them or not. So it's not 100% just for my family, but my family, when you look at the depths of just this society that's missing, information or representation in a way that when we go back in memory, we're not always enslaved when we see ourselves.
Mhm. Oh, I love it. I love it. You bring up like such an amazing point about the fusions because I've thought of that. So we're going to have to talk about that later
No
for sure.
worries.
But when you're looking at the art that you've started to produce and then what's currently being produced today, how do you see the differences between the two since you started as a public relations, person in the military and then you went to school when you were 30 afterwards. So how did you see the changes between what they were doing back then and what they're doing now?
I feel like moving into the digital space a little bit more comfortably is one of the main things because, again, I'm telling you, the camera that I have, the digital camera, is a $20,000 camera. And it's the only one in the office. And it's like, well, it was digital and satellite. I have to say the other word. so, I mean, because not everybody gets to have a satellite camera, right?
Mhm.
So just having access to instant images. There was a lady that I met who shot film. And I mean, I shot film when I started out for some years. And, when you would shoot film, you were normally getting about 30 to 36 images, right?
Mhm.
On a roll. And she told me when she'd shoot weddings, she was taking, only like maybe 5 or 6 rolls with her.
Mhm.
Like, this is it. This is it. Like, you can't just click, 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 click. You can't just erase. Like,
Mhm.
that's it. And so she told me, like, no, quit buying 10 rolls. No, you need to get the shot when you shoot it. Get the shot. And so
Mhm.
she really focused me on that. And so even though I'm in a digital space,
Mhm.
I am very consistent in being mindful. And I have to almost, when I'm consulting with clients, when I do shoot, explain to them that I'm not going to give them 100 pictures.
Mhm.
Why? So, yes, where I may shoot, if I'm doing a session with you and we're doing one look and you're facing me and we take, let's say I do 10 snaps, like I'm like, trying to figure out the one. I'm
Mhm.
always looking for the one. I'm
Right.
not looking for the 5. You're in the same outfit with the same hair, with the same makeup. I have to tell people, like, why do you want 100 pictures of yourself in that outfit? Like, are we putting them on the wall? No,
It's a
we're
flip
not.
book. It's a flip book.
So, just trying to encourage them to be mindful. I'm all about doing multiple looks and things like
Mhm.
that, but trying to get myself consistent in respecting time
Mhm.
and just knowing what I want. So not that I'm hoping I find an image
Mhm.
that I'm planning before my session. So I will say, like, that is one of the gifts from shooting with film, that even though my SD card can hold 5,000
Mhm.
pictures,
Mhm.
I'm still only trying to shoot 36.
There you go. There you
So
go. Awesome. And then so this is one thing that I noticed with, you know, corresponding with different photographers, and I always like to do multiple looks. And they're like, "Oh, I don't like to do that because it breaks my focus of the one look that I was, whatever we were doing at that time." What do you feel about that? I mean, I mean, have you heard that before too? And how does that, I mean, do you like the challenge of doing multiple looks to go from this is how I'm shooting you this way, and then you just change into something else, and then we've got a totally different vibe and we're running with something new?
I have to be honest, because anybody who shot with me would be like, I wish she would say she doesn't do that. because so another thing I try to do when people are working with me, I'm an individual. We all are, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I try to get people to understand, do not take your experience with me and hold any other photographer to that measure, good or
Mhm,
bad, right?
mhm,
So for me, when you look at my work, 9 times out of 10, I've done the hair, I've styled.
mhm.
Not only have I styled, I've went out and purchased the clothes.
Oh,
So
wow.
I've sourced them. Like I do estate sales, vintage sales. I'm
Mhm,
thrifting,
mhm,
yard sales. I am looking for pieces. So, and then I'm looking to say, what do I think will work with you? I'm
mhm,
using, when you look at the scarves that a lot of the models that I'm presenting in my work, they're wearing doilies and table runners,
mhm,
handkerchiefs, anything that I could do to give the illusion, because I'm trying, again, I don't want the work that I'm doing to look like it's playing dress up. I'm trying to
mhm,
do the best I can to give some authenticity, to the work. So no, I listen, I know people do like the limits of this is as many looks as I can do. My
mhm,
thing is more again about time. So I
mhm.
always tell people, if you're with me for more than an hour, I feel like you've kidnapped me, because it's just not necessary. We don't have to take that long.
Yeah.
I've planned for you. Again, I want you to enjoy the rest of your day. And I'm sure we've got it. So now, however many times you can change, and I'm not saying I won't work 2 hours, I will.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but we can really do it in an hour. Um, so most of the pictures that I sent over to you that you have
Mhm,
of my daughter, she's in this 3 staggered piece, right? So
mhm,
those are 3 separate photographs that I merged together. Now
mhm,
here's the deal: each of those pictures took me less than 5 minutes to shoot in real life.
mhm,
So the longest part of the time when I'm working with a person is styling them, because
mhm.
I'm
Always,
putting in the
yes.
hair and I'm doing this. I do my makeup digitally if I do not have a makeup artist on staff. So I
Mhm,
go in and I will digitally put on lashes and lipstick and contour and
mhm.
all of that. I am gifted digitally. In real life, don't come for me for that. It's not the gift. It's not, you got to move in your gift. But
There you go.
digitally, I am a master. I am qualified.
Yeah.
So, but no, so for me, because I do all of those things,
Mhm,
it provides me a space to be creative in that way. So I tell people I like to lead when we're dancing.
mhm.
But again, if you want to tell me what type of dance you want to do, then I can work with you there. You tell me the dance style, and I'm like, okay, and if that's somewhere where I feel like I'm comfortable, then we
Mhm.
can do it. If I don't feel like I'm going to benefit you, then I'm going to refer you to someone who I'm not going to be the jack of all trades where it's like I'm going to do it just because you ask. No,
Gotcha.
I want you to get the best. And if
Mhm.
I'm not the best, I'm going to send you to someone else.
Real talk. I love it.
I try to keep it simple, but no, multiple outfits is not a problem for me. But
Yeah.
again, like I said, I'm a little different. I have my whole garage. I have a 2-car garage.
Mhm.
Half of it is wardrobe.
Nice.
On racks though.
We're
On
going shopping
racks.
in your garage then.
I know now somebody's coming to look. It's locked, guys. And I have cameras. No, I'm messing.
Oh my gosh. I love it. I love it. So, what were some of your struggles breaking into this industry? I know you talked a little bit about some of them, but then also some of the strides that you've made as well.
Okay, some of the struggles. I kind
Mhm,
of, mentioned it,
mhm,
before. Just not having my degree. And I felt, again, that's just more for conversation piece, because
mhm,
where I'm at now, I don't have my degree now. Right before COVID was
mhm.
like where I still needed to take my science labs. So I've taken all of my fine art classes. So there's not another fine art class for me to take. So I tell
Gotcha.
people that, like, I'm like, don't try to blame me. Like, I know what I'm talking about. I'm good. But again, on the same measure, I know 17-year-olds that are darn amazing and they haven't even graduated high school,
Mhm,
right? So I know initially with my camera starting out, I was shooting with what I had, right? and then you kind of run across camera snobs. And then you have people, don't get me wrong, who have a love and they're enthusiasts when it comes to it. And they're not camera snobs, they just have amazing work, and they have amazing equipment, and that's fine. My issue is when people who have access to certain equipment like to knock people who might not have access to that same equipment, right? I don't think it's fair. I also, I remember some people kind of judging me when when I was in the military, I did learn how to shoot raw and not on, auto, right? And not in JPEG. But when I was revisiting,
A lot of people don't know. A lot of people don't know what that means. They only shoot on auto.
What? Okay, so right. So when you want to shoot manual, where you have to do all your settings. So when I came back to photography, I was on auto and JPEG. Okay, I was living my life there, and a young lady, she was like, "You don't shoot manual." That's what she said to me. And I'm like, I mean, she could have came at me differently. She could have helped me. Like, it's numbers. Like, as a college student that was 35 having to take finite math with 18-year-olds, I'm like, I do not want to remember this formula, ma'am. I'm like, ma'am, I know this doesn't help me with my kids. I've been doing this. So, but when, I'm in this space with people and they're camera snobbing, and I feel like scaring the babies, that are in the industry. And I'm not saying babies with an age, like it could be a 50-year-old that wants to do it. And I don't think it's fair. And honestly, like the rebel in me advocates, Stuart, where I will shoot with my camera. I will shoot with my phone. I will shoot with my Canon Rebel. I have Canon and Nikon. I'm not committed to a brand. Call me what you want. I have both bodies. I'm like, whatever. I'm just so all over the place. But I used to shoot with 3 bodies on me, right? So when I would do weddings, I'd have my Canon, my Nikon, another Canon. I used to call one my husband, the other my boyfriend. It was like, whatever. It's just the day is how I'm feeling. And when I would keep 2 in manual and I'd keep 1 in auto, because sometimes your camera will lock up on you and it will not take the picture because you're having a problem with
my computer right before we got on, right?
Exactly. So I will take I'll move my hand real quick with my one on auto and go boom, boom, and I use it to grab it. Now, saying that, so again, I think there's a strength in being able to be bold, about how you feel. And it took me a while to get to the point to where I wasn't bothered or concerned about what other people said. And I wasn't embarrassed to speak up and go, well, and sometimes I add information when it's not even asked for. So I was on Clubhouse probably about a year ago, and we're in a space and there's a photograph. We're playing a game and you put the picture up and people have to guess if it's what kind of light it's shot in, if it's studio or if it's, natural light. And so I put the picture up, knowing I took it outside in my backyard, whatever. But they're guessing, oh, it's this, it's this, it's this. And I go, no, it was natural light. And they're like, oh my God. And I'm like, and I shot it with my phone. So it wasn't even part of it. But before we got to, and I shot it with my phone, this gentleman was like, oh my goodness, like, I'm going to refer you to a magazine for this piece. Well, as soon as I mentioned I took it with my phone, he was like, never mind.
What difference does it make? It was still a beautiful image.
And I think where his concern was the quality. And the issue for me with that is many people will snub it, put their nose down to it or up. And the issue with that is, I'm like, well, have you tried? Are you going off what people told you? Or have you actually tried to print an image that's taken with your phone? Because one, my first solo exhibition, that is one of the successes, what you're asking, was at the Rosa Parks Museum in Montgomery, Alabama. Madeline and Donna were amazing in helping me curate that show and giving me access. So you have these women who open this door for, a Black woman to have a solo exhibition, which is almost a rarity when you look at the numbers, like 1% of, Black artists, not women, Black artists get the ability to have something like that. So I get there, 50% of my pieces were shot with my phone. I had a couple pieces that were 3 feet by 8 feet shot with my phone. If people pay attention, a few years ago, iPhone did a campaign called Shot by iPhone. There were commercials on TV. There were these big like banners on billboards and on sides of buildings, but shot by iPhone. Those were phone pictures.
Yes.
That were on the sides of buildings. So, but my picture can't go in a magazine.
Right.
So, but that's the debate that I'm willing to have. And I always charge people, look at my work and tell me which picture was taken with what. My $5,000 camera is heavy. It's heavy and it hurts my wrists.
And your phone
is expensive too. And
it is, but it's light.
Yes.
And it doesn't hurt your arm.
No, and
it can go in your pocket.
Right. But my thing is, if you want, I'm not against people shooting with whatever type of camera they want to. I'm fine. Sure. Shoot with what you want to shoot with and be great, but quit getting in other people's lanes with what they have and telling them what they have, because you never know what the talent is going to come out of it. You think about the people, the Ansel Adams and people like that we revered, they didn't have digital cameras. Camera photography is writing with light, right? People were shooting with a box and light.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we get beyond ourselves. I think the analogy I told you is when you eat good food and you call the chef out or you're someone's house, you go, what kind of stove do you have? What pans are you using? Your food is just phenomenal. Because again, you see the picture, people like move you as the conductor out of it. Like it's not you, it's your camera. Like you aren't utilizing the tool. So I think we just have to be careful.
But you're exactly right, because nobody ever does that. Nobody asks anybody in the kitchen, what kind of pans are you using or what kind of stove do you have? They don't.
No. You can have an amazing camera and take terrible pictures or good ones. And you could have a box with light. I mean, think about it. You have there's the Iron Chef. One of the Iron Chefs has a TikTok, and his son will bring home random food and have him make like cuisine with it. He looks at it like, oh, what am I going to do? But he takes it and he makes things. Again, it says, what can you do with what you have?
Exactly.
Make it work. Well,
exactly. That's and then I love that you're at least, getting that kind of projecting that out to other people wherever they are. When we say they're in their infancy of photography, it doesn't mean that they're the young high schooler. It can be the young high schooler, but it could be, the 40, 50-year-old or and beyond who wants to pick up that camera and learn. And that's beautiful to hear that, that's what you're advocating for and you're sending that out to folks, because it is, when you do have somebody that you do probably admire, you're like, oh, I want to, this person's work is great. And then, you have that interaction and I've had that happen too, where they're just like really snobby about things. And it was just like, was that really all necessary? Because we're all learning and we will never not, or we're not going to stop learning and we're not going to not learn. We're always going to be learning. So
I always tell people, I think I'm a C+ photographer that can produce A+ work. So when I say that is, people don't see everything, right? But I do feel like I put out some good stuff sometimes. And then when I do, you guys get to see it. And when I don't, you don't, I'm like, it's like with cooking, you try a new recipe and go, that's not it.
That's not it. But this one was great. Or maybe the next one's not. It just depends.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about you were talking about your particular style when it comes to like the mixed media type of art and making those like 10 older looking photographs. How do you bring that together for folks or for whoever's your model for that time?
Lots of layers. So after, normally I'm planning before. So again, I'm pulling wardrobe. I have somewhat of a vision of what I want to do. 9 times out of 10, like you mentioned earlier, I am photographing my family. So probably 98% of my work are I have 4 children. So, and 2 girls, 2 boys. So 98% of my work is my 2 daughters. So they are very familiar with me. They kind of know. They're a little older now, so when they were little, I could just be like, now I have to schedule. I have to schedule. So they need at least 24 hours notice.
Oh my
So we schedule. They're like, Mom, consent. I'm not joking. Like, I have the right to say no. I'm like, and yes, it's so funny because I'm like, I raised little me's and I'm so proud of them and disappointed at the same time. But we make it work. So, but no, so they kind of know what I'm going to do they're comfortable with knowing mommy could pull out anything. And we're gonna, I'm not gonna compromise anybody's morality, you know what I mean? But you may not you're like, did she just pull out drapes? Like, what is that? And like clothespins, what is she about to do? Is she tying this around me? Okay. Okay. All right. So they're like, okay, Mom just put a cardboard box on my head. Okay, no, it's fine. No, it's okay. You're good. But I always tell them they just have to sell it. I'm like, I need you to show with your face that you believe what we're doing. So again, for the style that I do, though, I'm pulling wardrobe. I have the pieces together. And to me, it's mainly about the eyes and the neckline. So I'm very purposeful and have intention with their posture, because when you go back to look of some of the other images, the enslaved people didn't always have the ability to give direct eye contact. So the intention behind some of my pieces is that once the picture makes it to a gallery or it's being exhibited, that the viewer has to look them in the eye. And they are staring, they are forcing you to have a conversation with them. Whether you choose to stay or not is up to you. But you're definitely seeing that they are not moving, their chin is up, and they're looking at you or they're looking down at you. And it's forcing you to go, okay, what is this? What is this? And you have to kind of have that moment with yourself. After I take the photograph, get it to the computer, it is, I don't have that part envisioned, so I kind of know, if I'm using some Renaissance type clothing, what I want to do there. But then it's like all of these colors are going to go mute because I'm about to make this black and white. I know I want to scratch it up. I love to do that. So I want to scratch it up as much as I can. I want to start making it soft.
And you do all of that in post, right? Okay.
Layers upon layers upon layers. I know someone got frustrated with me about 2 years ago because I was trying something different. So I did all of the work, printed out some pieces. Then I took them out to my fire pit in the backyard and started to burn the edges of the prints, right? And then I'm pouring tea. I made tea that I let sit out, and I really steeped it a lot, and I'm pouring it on the piece to kind of stain it some more. What I was trying to go for were pieces that had gone through a fire. Because people, when it comes to photography, when we get back in the family, some pictures that you have of your family members, you've only met that family member through a photo. That's the only way you know. And if you think of them right now, you can see them, and it's going to be from that photograph. And there's nothing else. And the other thing that's unfortunate about some photographs, when we don't write on the back, someone took that picture. So you have those family pictures where there's 8 people in it, or a grandma and someone sitting, or Nana and someone sitting on the couch. There's another person there. Most likely, it's not the self-timer, right? Someone took that. And so when there's a hurricane, a flood, a fire, people go for their family, their pets, and their photographs. Photographs. When someone passes, you're holding on to photographs. When you go see another family member and they have a photo that you don't remember, like, it gives you access to a memory. You're like, I don't even what is this? I was there, like, and you're trying to access this memory. So there's definitely beauty with photographs and longevity with photographs. Like, I even give my clients a discount. I say, if you print, I tell them on their birthday day. So like, I'm born on the 24th of a month, right? So every 24th of the month, that is my print day or my print week, which means I need to, and I have printers that I recommend. Like, I tell people to go to MPix, like mpix.com. They're like the sister company of a professional lab that I use. But you can go to CVS or Walgreens, Walmart. I don't care. And I understand people say those aren't professional labs. Do they make pictures? Yeah. Do you really care that Aunt Cindy's a little blue? Maybe not. It's still Aunt Cindy. You know what I mean? Maybe don't.
Hold on. I care. I
know. Hold on. I know. I was being extreme. But know what? If you talk to the technicians, if you go regularly, they will make adjustments for you. And again, those that are a little bit more passionate, obviously you can meet people who are there and they're not there for the print job.
Yeah.
But if you go and you print at least $5 worth of pictures every month or every other month and keep you a little box, because so many people are losing the thing that we talked about having the phone. It's like a double-edged sword, because so many people are losing pictures
Yes.
because the
Where was
devices are
that?
crashing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta
No,
print.
I agree. I agree. Um, so moving forward to your amazingness, you've been highlighted in Google Arts and Culture for your work, and you've written some books too, right?
Yes, yes,
Oh
yes,
my
yes, yes,
gosh. And
yes.
you're checking off all the boxes. It's just like amazing human. Hello. So what's next for you?
Next for me, more books. So right now I tried to like start like age appropriate, like kind of
Mhm,
working my way up. So I started with my children's books first, because I have some teen novels that I'm working on that are a little more time intrusive,
mhm,
that are series. So one is May Robbins, and the other one is it's like the Chronicles of Zaylon. It's about a girl named Zaisha. And I'm trying to, again, stick with advocating narratives and representation
mhm,
through the work that I'm doing. So most of my work have, people of color as the leads, so little kids can kind of see themselves in these places that maybe they hadn't. I have a little stories where I have some fairies where, again, they're fairies of color. And it's like, what?
mhm,
What
mhm,
is this? And so what I have on my list of things that I want to do is I want to put out a table book of photographs. So
ooh,
that I'm excited about. I'm still kind of looking into it because it's fairly expensive right now, the route that I'm looking. So I'm hopeful that maybe that I'll end up working with a publisher that will offset some of the costs that I would have to do if I self-publish. And then I have a love for the youth. And so I've been doing a lot of work over the years working with youth. And so I'll be starting, a foundation here soon. So my work is Takeisha Art, but I'll be starting a Takeisha Art Foundation where I can do a lot more work within the community or communities that I visit
mhm,
with children with the art. So that won't just include photography.
mhm,
So whether I'm working with youth that are interested in fashion or
mhm.
culinary or whatever it is in the land of arts, and it doesn't even mean that I'm facilitating the teaching. Remember, like I said, I move where my talent takes me, and my talent is smart enough to know if I know someone who is better at it, then I can get that person to come facilitate that class. So I do prefer at this point more intimate type
Mhm,
sessions where classes like 25 and under, where we
mhm.
really can, work within enrichment of the youth. But I'm so hopeful about my ability to do that. So I'm doing it now, even though I don't have the foundation, but
Correct. Yeah.
working my way to make sure that I'm doing it the right way, where I'll be able to do more with the youth. So for the last few years, what I normally do is I do free senior pictures for high school students that can't afford it. So that was one of the outreaches that I do. So I don't normally do senior pictures, but I kind of wait to the end of the school year to
Mhm,
make sure that the kids aren't just, hey, we just want you to do it. So normally,
mhm.
like the last 30 days of school, I'll reach out to a high school and say, hey, send me kids. Who do you have that hasn't had their pictures taken? And
That's an amazing avenue because I had on here on this platform before I had one of my other coworkers that I worked with out here at Lackland, and he is very much about senior pictures and dancing, and that was his thing. And I had him on, and it was and when you get a chance to look back at it too, and just
yes,
take a look at it, hit the struggles that he has just breaking into that industry, and how some of the schools have their
understood.
the toehold and they've got it like locked down on whether or not certain photographers can come into that space and stuff. So yeah, pretty interesting and,
Understood.
and awesome. Yeah. But you're doing great things. I love it. Janet's on and she's like, you inspire me. And Janet also takes photos as well, which is super
Thank
cool.
you, Janet.
She's amazing as well. But I'm so glad and happy that you were able to come on, and we'll be looking out for your foundation. So let us know when that actually comes out like full fledged, because we would love
Yes,
to like blast that out there, broadcast it, and see how we can support you as well.
Awesome. I do appreciate it.
Fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Nope, that's basically it. If I don't know if people want to visit my social media, my
Mhm.
website is my first name with an S on it. So it's a TAKEISHAS.com. And you can find me on Instagram at Takeisha Art. Just remember, I am an advocate. I think I mentioned that. So you're gonna see a little bit of art with occasional advocacy publicly.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we'll make sure after this that we'll in Facebook or whatever, we'll be able to put all of your information on there. Janet was like, "Can I connect with you?" Definitely, Janet.
Definitely,
Hang
definitely.
tight. We'll make sure that all of Takeisha's information, her website, all of her social media handles will be put into the feed after we post this. But just for fun, because like I do love to do this with all of my guests
Okay,
that come on, we have a speed round. You ready to go?
ready to go.
All right. What's your favorite thing to photograph? But I think we've already said it. So outside of your kids,
People
what is your favorite thing to photograph?
people who don't like having their pictures taken but are open to it.
Okay.
That
Okay. I
that
like
let me yeah, that let me photograph them. I love
I
that
like it.
experience. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so how far have you traveled for a shoot? Because some people like travel kind of far.
From Michigan to Alaska.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's like way across there. All right.
Yeah.
What's your oldest camera apparatus that you own? Like, old. Because
Uh
my
uh
mom still is doing this whoosh, 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 with her digital camera. And she
my
loves to print. She loves to print.
I still have I have a Nikon F4, which is pretty old,
Mhm.
like 90s ish. And
Okay.
then but this is not in use. So I have a Brownie too. So I collect old cameras that I don't do
Yeah, I
anything
have my
with.
old Canon up there.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but I still my the F4 still works.
Mhm.
So yeah. And then I have some
Very
manuals, but I wouldn't even know. Like I'm not committed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, I know. You the 3 cameras and the phone and All right, what is the one thing that you've always wanted to shoot, but you haven't shot it yet?
Let me tell you something. It's not a something, it's kind of a some things. I want access to like a set, like a movie set and the full wardrobe.
Ooh.
And the
Ooh,
wardrobe. I want to be
okay.
able to play dress up and have the sets. Like I'd even take a theater. Like give me the theater. Let me have your theater sets and your wardrobe and I'd be happy. Like husband, if you're watching, date night for me, you don't have to be there. You don't have to be there. Just me and my client in this space or anyone that would like to gift to me access to a theater, the set and all of the wardrobe and maybe some lights. All I need is an hour. I'm
She
telling
did
you,
say, she's like, 60 minutes or less, boom.
if they let me, if they say you can only shoot for 5 minutes after you get the wardrobe and the set pick, I'm gonna rock that shoot.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
don't don't threaten me with a good time. Nope. So that's that. That is it.
Oh my gosh, I freaking love it. Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you. And it's so great to finally meet you, the other half, the better half.
Yes.
Sorry. Oh, I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
It's okay. Your honesty is just important. So thank you.
It's the truth. I mean, I love
Yes.
him, but I not like,
He
no,
knows. He
sorry,
knows.
bro.
He knows. He knows. And that's why he married me. Mm-hmm.
There you go. There you go.
But
Perfect.
thank you. I'm so glad you guys met, and I'm thankful again for you having me. I'm grateful.
And I'm grateful too. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend. Everybody else, enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.